Hello, YouTube. This is BUB'S Comics coming at you. I'm going to be doing a quick unboxing. And that's it. And we're going to do a quick CGC unboxing. I'm just double checking a couple of things here, so good to know. If anybody wants to hop on here, they're welcome to. And looks like we got one little player in the house. What's going on, man?
What's up?
Let me know if you're getting any feedback. Is there an echo or anything?
No, it sounds good.
All right, I might put on my headphones just in case because mine gets a little echoey. You're a nice MacBook Pro. You never have a problem, do you?
Nope, I got lucky. Wasn't planned.
All right, cool. Let's see. There we go. All right, cool. A couple people watching already. Joe 47771. That's a lot of numbers. What is it?
Joey Bag of Sevens, what everybody calls them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that from a movie?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's a character in Casino, maybe, called Joey Bag of Donuts.
Okay.
Maybe it's a takeoff from that. If somebody used it and it just sort of stuck, and I don't think he minds it. I hope not.
Well, that works. Well, I guess they'll have to let us know. So we got Joey Bag of Sevens. We got Metarog. We got King of Comicdom. This isn't going to be a long stream, guys. Really, I just kept thinking of ways that maybe I wanted to do a video and show what the grades were on those two books that I worked on a couple weeks ago. 2 weeks ago or so tomorrow, or 2 weeks ago this coming Friday, I uploaded a video where I did a Hulk 181 press and clean. And then on, let's see, a week ago, or last Friday, I should say, I did my Daredevil, where I really just went to town on it and did, DS, what would you call it? Is it a restoration or is it conservation? I mean,
what you did on it?
Yeah, I mean, I changed the cover.
A Dr. Frankenstein on it, but I think it's conservation. I don't think you didn't do anything restorative, but you did do a couple conservation things with it. Yeah, okay. It's definitely conserved, especially the staple part is for sure.
I'd say it's conserved, but it also had a married back cover. So what's that count as?
Well, I mean, that's nothing other than just marrying a back cover. That's not conservation or restoration or anything, but
okay.
I'm sure it doesn't have a married back cover, though.
Right.
But yeah, I would say overall it's conserved, and you married some pieces. Yeah, Dr. Frankenstein it up.
Frankenstein book.
Good job, though.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If you guys haven't seen that video, I put a link to in the description of this video. So after you watch this, if it sparks your curiosity, you can click on that link and see the work that went into it. While we got a couple people still trickling in, I'll go ahead and show this. This was another CGC book that I just got. This is my Planet Comics 22, I think. 22. This is the last Rivet cover, I believe.
Yes,
in the series. So 1.5. I'm a little torn with this book because the issue is that it has a little bit of writing across her hair, like a girl wrote her name or something. It says Mrs. Something. It's funny, a lot of the books that I get have Mrs. Something written all over them, like the girl's practicing her name over and over again. I don't think it's a teacher out there doing any of this work. But there you go, Planet Comics, a great black cover. I've seen this book a few times, but I don't see it very often for sale. It's got a great monster cover, great Dan Zelnerowicz cover. If you don't think I've practiced that, you're crazy. And just look at all that black in there. It's so hard to get that in a decent grade. Now, obviously, 1.5 is not a high grade, but for my collection, a blue label is a high grade. So for my collection of Planet Comics, that already really takes the cake. So there you go. There's the back cover, 97-pound weakling. As Roger likes to say in his videos, when they say you got to be 18 or over to participate in the contest, he's like, I'm 3 times that. Well, 97-pound weakling, I'm 3 times that almost. So we
Yeah, I
got
would
that.
say for books like that, you don't need to be too worried about like the writing. I mean, that's the least of your concerns with a book like that. Like, so what? I have books with writing on them, and it's like I don't even care. I mean, it's not ideal, but I mean, a book like that, that's an early book. It's a rivet. It's a
Yeah.
nice, I mean, beautiful cover. Yeah, I wouldn't even worry about that writing.
It's only my second rivet cover, so I'm glad to have that. And then also, the writing only gets me because if I had bought it raw, I could have erased the writing, cleaned
Is
it
it
up a little
pencil?
bit, and then sent it in. You know?
Is it
Yeah, it's in
pencil?
pencil. It's in pencil.
Well, I mean, you can crack it out.
I hate to undo good work. You know, it looks good. It's pretty.
Yeah,
From this,
well,
from even this far away, you can't see the writing,
yeah,
so
you're
it
good.
blends in. It's pretty faded. So
Writing is on. You know, the further back you go, the more prevalent the writing it happens on these books. So I don't even
yeah.
really worry about it, unless it's sometimes you see somebody writes their name like in the outline of the entire title, and
I can't
it's
stand that.
all over, or somebody goes date stamp crazy. Then I don't like it, but just a little bit's all right.
Yeah, I can't stand that either. Well, I don't know. I haven't even been looking at the thing. I don't know how many people we have here, but we can get on into the main part, the main event. That's just the warm up, which I got to tell you, I was super excited about that warm up. I mean, that was a big deal to me to get that Planet Comics 22. Like I said, my second rivet. That's huge to me. You know, I didn't think I'd have 2 rivets by now, and certainly not one of them already graded. So that's big for me. All right, let's get into. We got 10 people watching. Like I said, it's going to be a quick one. I'm sure there's other streams starting at 8 o'clock, so I don't want to step over their toes too much. I just picked an odd time. I saw nobody was on, so I just jumped in. First of all, we have some great packaging done. So what happened was is that I had, as you saw, I worked on these books a couple of weeks ago, and then I was going to submit them to CGC, and a buddy of mine was going to Baltimore Comic Con, and he actually offered to be a mule for my books. So, mule, if you're out there, wherever you are, out in YouTube land, I want to thank that mule. He's the best mule I've had yet.
Sounds like a great guy, and it looks like he knows how to pack books too.
Yes, bomb-proof packaging. But I tell you, so when I got this package from UPS or US Postal Service, this corner it's a little better now, but it was totally dinged in and crushed, and I was devastated when I saw it, and I like refused to open it. I refused to take it. I said, I'm going to open this right now in front of you. That way, insurance is in play, and there's a longer story on that. It's not important, but I was like, I'm going to open this right now in front of you to make sure it's not damaged. So I opened it. It wasn't damaged. All was well. So it may not be bomb proof as advertised, but it's definitely U.S. Postal Service proof. And what more could you ask for?
Well, I've yet to get a damaged one yet, and I protect the corners, and I use a box that's big enough and enough bubble wrap that should last you a month.
Yes, I'm going to use it too. It goes right into the fly bin.
You can't prevent everything forever, but I mean, I don't think you can wrap a pack of books any better than I do. So,
man, they were so. I just that post office and me have gone rounds before. So over damaged packages, and I swear that it's my post office doing it, because I've seen them pack packages around, and they're really rough with them.
And those are I buy custom boxes. Those are legit sturdy boxes too. That's not like
that's strong.
Box. So.
All right. So first up, we'll take a look at the Hulk 181. Let's see. I know everybody does some big presentation. I don't know what to do with that, but here's the book. And we'll see it. There you go. 5.5. Green label. It's missing the MVS. So my original book, this same book, came in a 2.5 CBCS, and I've got my facsimile in there just for fun. So it's got a 2.5, missing the MVS. Of course, it didn't regrow one while it was. I mean, my mule's good, but I don't think he's that good. Start pouring water on the book and regrowing MVS. So very happy to have. Thank you, Unruly Simeon. Yes, of course, DS was the mule. If you haven't figured it out yet. So I'm sure of all the things he's muled, this was the most uncomfortable. So
Also, probably the most legal.
yeah, that too. So 5.5, very happy with that. I really didn't know what to expect. I think if you go back to my video, I was hoping for a 3 or a 3.5. And that's really only because at that time, I hadn't cleaned it yet. I hadn't pressed it yet. And there is some, like, I wouldn't call it manufacturing defects, but printing error or printing defect. So if you look really close, you can kind of see that yellow between the L and the K, and a little bit after the K as well. And that's just like it's not a stain or anything. That's just like the book when they were running it off the press. They like ran out of a little bit of red, and so you end up with a little bit of yellow kind of bleeding through. So I didn't know how they were going to grade that. I really was eager to see how that got graded, but they didn't take anything off for it. I'll read you the grader's notes on it, just recently provided, and it says Marvel value stamp missing. We knew that, no duh. And it says doesn't affect story and multiple creases. Front cover breaks color. So there's one right here that really does break a little bit of color, like from here to there. But it's not bad. It's certainly not an eyesore. Multiple stains, left top of back cover, and right top of front cover. And what they're referring to there is this very corner. There are some stains there where it's like very faded or kind of looks like it maybe got wet once. Although the actual book doesn't look like it's ever been wet, but some color rubbed off there, and then spine stresses along the edge. So that's the story on that. So all right, so
You
there
want
you
to take a
go.
minute and explain what our understanding is for like missing the Marvel value stamp, the difference of how CBCS and CGC grade those, how they handle it?
Yes.
The number of the
So
grade.
there's some slight discrepancy in how CBCS grades missing value stamps. So I'll first say that because I know we've discussed it before, but I've discussed it with other people as well too. And I know because I had one, right? So I know that a lot of people will say that the highest grade that a book can get with CBCS when it's missing the value stamp, because they actually hit the grade for that because it's incomplete. So it's a 2.5. But I know that there are 4.5s out there that are missing the value stamp graded by CBCS. But I think what they do is they take a hard, like 5 or so, it's a hard grade knock. And it's so hard that most books won't recover beyond a 2.5. But I know that there are some that are 4.5s that are CBCS graded that are MVS missing. But they look like 9.8s. Like it's a perfect book. 9.8 looks like a 9.8, and they graded it a 4.5 because it was missing the stamp.
Yeah,
I don't know who would do
they
that.
don't have a qualified thing. They just grade it straight up. There's a big piece missing, and that's a defect, and they just grade it straight down for that.
I mean, I would never do that. I would never send a book in knowing that that was the case. Would you?
I wouldn't. To CBCS, I wouldn't, because especially if you're selling it, the people don't like that qualified grade from CGC. But if you have a really nice condition Hulk 181 and it's like 80, 85 ish, but it's missing the MVS, if you send it to CBCS, they're going to give you like what 3.5. Well,
Yeah.
How do you value that? Because you can't. Why is it a 3.5? It looks awesome. Yes, the Marvel value stamp's missing, but is it have a major tear? Or what else is going on? With CGC, they're telling you, look, this is a 5.5. And just be aware that the Marvel value stamp's missing, but otherwise it's 5.5 condition book, just the MVS is out. So I think the qualified makes more sense because you get a much more accurate idea of the condition of that book. It's a 5.5, but missing the MVS, but otherwise 5.5. You know what I mean? But
I agree.
Yeah, the 2.5, obviously it looks better. Like why, it's hard to tell what's the accurate condition of that. Yeah, we all know the stamp's missing, but it's still got value, and how do you value it? It's easier with the qualified CGC, I think.
I agree, especially when it's not affecting story or art. Now, if you're missing a 2x2 square somewhere in a panel, or worse, it could be intersecting 4 panels and taking out a huge chunk of the story and art, then I think that warrants a lower grade, honestly. I wouldn't be in favor of a green label for something like that. But if it doesn't affect story or art and it's just a coupon cutout, then I don't think the grade should suffer that heavily for that, because even if you were going to enjoy it raw, you really still can enjoy almost the entire book. You're just missing a little piece that has nothing to do with the story. So I like that. So, and for this, it's just awesome. So I'm really happy with that. Hulk 181 in the books. Glad to have it. It's gonna go hang back up on the wall. Super awesome. Thank you, Bear Island Comics, for being here. Unruly Simeon, Comic Books NYC. What's going on, man? JP's Budget Collecting. He just actually finished a pretty good video where UPS tried to ding him up. So good to have you. Everybody else still here. So thanks, guys, for being here. And we'll move on to the next book. This is the only other book. So if you just want to, and Broke Cause of Comics, good to have you here. This is my Daredevil 1. So the quick story on that, as I said before, was just that I bought this book at a convention I'll tell you what I paid for. I paid $300 for it. Very, very low for this book, but it was a very, very low grade book. And I knew all the problems it had when I first picked it up. I looked through it. It was missing a back cover. It had all kinds of defects. Of course, it was very dirty, soiled even almost. But I thought I could work with it. And honestly, I've been hunting for this book for a little over a year, and I did not care about the condition of the book. I pretty much just wanted to have the book and have a presentable front cover. That's all I cared about. But even in that, the prices are pretty heavy for a Daredevil 1, even in that condition. So getting a raw copy, I just thought I'd like to improve the presentability of it. So I invested. I bought a donor book, and I found a back cover off a donor book that was from just like a month later, 2 months later, from the original Daredevil. So it was the same correct one. I researched which books would have that back cover, found it, found that book, got myself some tape, some conservation tape. So this is acid-free permanent tape from Scotch. I think it was Alex the Comic Quarter recommended this. It was in one of our chats. So I appreciate that. And then I also used the staples. One of these staples, one was fine, and one of the staples was heavily oxidized. And if you don't know, oxidation is the gateway to rust, right? So instead of it being shiny, it'll start to get a little porous, a little black, a little rough to the finger, and can even leave a little black mark. If you run your finger over it just right, you get a little black mark on your finger. So you don't want oxidation, because eventually, even in a slab, it can turn to rust. You don't want any of that. Once it started, it's hard to stop that train. So I removed the oxidized staple and replaced both staples with the cleaner, no rust, no oxidation from the donor book. So that's a lot that got put into this book. And if you want to see that video, it's uploaded, and I've left a description below. My hope for this book was a 0.5 green or purple label. That's what I assumed. And it came back as a 1.0 blue label. And it looks great. Now, I don't intend on selling this book in any way, and I still believe, and DS has confirmed as well, that to the trained eye, you would still be able to detect a married cover on the back. But other than that, it's a blue label 1.0, and I am very, 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 very happy with that. Quick turnaround. Yes, Frankendevil. I like that. Quick turnaround, because DS did mule these for me at BaltCon, and he did the on-site grading, so he turned it in Friday, picked them up Sunday. So, DS, you want to say anything about this little beauty?
I mean, it's look, you did honest, ethical work on it, and you did a lot of work on it, and you've put together a complete, genuine Daredevil book. You did marry a back cover from another Marvel book from around the same time. I think if it wasn't at on-site grading, they might have caught that. But I mean, there's so much done to that. It's not like the easiest thing to catch. But if they caught it or if they didn't, it's legit. I mean, you researched even the inside of that back cover is the same ad as the inside Daredevil. It's like a month or two apart another Marvel book. So yeah, I mean, that's a legit complete copy, and you know, it's a 1.0. You didn't pull some trickeration and get like a 9.2 and it's some cleverly trimmed book or something. I mean, that's legit low grade complete book. And you know, I'd be proud of that if I was you, because you did a lot of work with no experience, and you did stuff I wouldn't even attempt to do on that book. And yeah, I mean, I told you it was a 1.0. I thought maybe, you know, the qualified, if they determined the back cover was married or not, but even the back cover you matched up was equally worn as the original Daredevil book you had. So even the amount of wear. So I think you did a really excellent job of finding the right back cover to marry to that. And it's, yeah, a fantastic score. And yeah, it's a great book. I think you did a good job. And I was really thrilled. I opened your package or looked at your books before I even looked at mine on site. I was more excited to see that than anything else.
Well, your package was like 50 pounds, so maybe mine was just easier to open.
We threw them all in the same box, and I took the box outside the room into that hallway there at the convention center, and I went quick and that was the first one I pulled out to see. And yeah, it's exciting. It's and it looks good. I mean, it's not 9.0 obviously, but compare that to some 1.0s, that looks as good or better than most all 1.0s I see on anything.
So Metarog
missing or writing, it's clean, it's white. I mean, it's a nice looking 1.0, man.
It wasn't, man. When I got it, it was so dirty. I couldn't believe how clean it came compared to the way it was when I picked it up. The notes on the label say spine and cover completely split and reattached with tape. And the grader's notes say, let's see, say multiple piece out, reattached with tape, spine, and soiling. Well, we knew it was soiled because it's pretty dirty. And the back cover, actually, so when I picked out the back cover, I picked out the lowest grade book that I could get from that same month and time period, so the back cover will be an exact match. And I actually thought, after I cleaned the front cover and I cleaned on the back cover, and the back cover barely came any cleaner than it was when I got it. And I thought, oh man, I did too good a job, because the front cover is just a little wider than the back cover, but it still works. So yeah, extra soiled when you saw that blue label. I tell you, you know, it's hard to believe it would get a green label. Yes, I agree. So I would think it would be green with a married note, but you know, this is one of those things where you're buying the book, not the grade. You're not buying the slab. This is one person's opinion of the book, right? That's my opinion. That it's CGC's best opinion of the book, and there's all kinds of factors involved. And like DS said, I think if this had not been on-site grading, I think it probably would have got a green label. Somebody would have taken a little bit more time with it, looked a little harder. But my intention, if you go back to my other video, my intention was never to do anything shady, or, you know, I expected a green or a purple label, and I was totally good with that. And I expected a 0.5, I'd be good with that. The reason I'm happy as blue is because it validates some of the work that I did to make it as presentable as possible. And that's what it is. It's a very well presenting 1.0.
Yeah, so I think when they looked at it, you know, they looked at a lot of books for on-site in a very short amount of time. So if anything's going to get by them, it's during on-site grading. But not everything gets by them. And the fact that that married back cover, you know, got by them is because, you know, the graders sit down and look at that, and they're flipping through a book that looks very carefully, and you know, somebody took great care and consideration in putting that book together, that, you know, the person looking at that book is like, oh, this was low grade, but somebody did a good job putting this together. So it sort of biases them as they're looking at the book to not even be like, man, this is a piece of crap. What did they do to this? Like, we got to find something they did something shady with it. It doesn't look shady. It looks like somebody took great care putting together a book that they loved. And, you know, that biases them as they get towards the back, and to not be looking that close at it, because it's clear that you did, you know, quality work on that with the tape and the lining it up and everything. So yeah, I mean, it's not real obvious if you're just looking at it, you know, quickly through onsite. It wasn't like an obvious beat up rag that you need to really scrutinize because there's something shady here. You know, it doesn't look shady.
Yeah.
It looks like somebody took great care and had some skill and put that together. But from people are asking about if you take a piece from another book and add it to your book that's missing that, like a back cover or a centerfold or something that's missing. If you get an identical one from another book or identical back cover and you marry it to your book, it doesn't count as restoration. It's just it'll get a note. It still counts as a complete book. They'll just give it a green label and say that this is a complete book, this is the grade, but just be aware that one piece came from another book.
Yeah.
It's a legit piece. It is the piece that's supposed to be there. It's just not the one that was stapled to that particular copy. So, yeah, I mean, it's still legit. Yeah, blue label, man, nice.
I think one of the things that sticks with me too is that, you know, when they're grading the books, and you had said this also, when they're grading the books, could you imagine, okay, if this was the real back cover, right? The original back cover to the book, because there were several pages inside that were also fully detached and completely out that I had to marry together, but they were original to the book, but I had to marry them together. Could you imagine if the back cover was just simply that as well, and they gave it a green label and said, no, we don't believe that back cover came from there? Holy cow, man. I mean, if you're not 100% sure to call a foul, you can't call foul. Because there's no way that you could give a bunch of green labels out. Everybody would be so mad. You know, you'd have to be 100% sure.
That was my Smash Comics 3 that I bought at Heroes Con. It has tape all the way down the spine on the cover, and inside the cover there's tape all the way down the interior spine. And there's a line on the outside on the spine where if I had to guess one way or another, I would say that cover was detached and taped back on, but it was done so neatly that you can't be 100% sure, but that would be my guess. But they're not going to ding you on something unless they're 100% sure. They're not going to be like, well, it looks like it's detached and taped back on, so we're going to ding it. They got to be sure when they look at it. And, you know, I don't, you know, for that or anything you send in that's got issues, if they're not 100% sure, they're not going to, you know, go with it. So, you know, that might have something to do with it too. You could, like the staples and the interior wraps. I mean, it's hit or miss whether you could tell that was done. I mean, the staples, you can't really tell the staples were, you know, that staple was changed out.
No, I mean, if I put a facsimile cover on the back and put brand new shiny staples from 2019 through this book, it's a green label all day. They're not even going to think about it. They're going to say, yes, absolutely, that's wrong. You know, no doubt. So I'm pleased with it. Like I said, it's for my PC. It would be the kind of thing, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Newton rings in that if you, like some people will sell a book and if it comes back with Newton rings, you know, then they kind of understand. Like if somebody said, look, I want to return this book. This has more Newton rings than I can stand. Then I think a seller who is doing a good job and wants to keep 100% rating would take that book back, you know? And I think if I were to ever sell this book, which I'm never going to, but if I was in the business of selling this book and somebody returned it and said, look, I think CGC missed something and I'm not 100% satisfied with this book, I would have to take it back. I think that would be totally to be above board, just 100%, just take it back, you know?
Well, I mean, what I would do if you decide to sell that at some point, I would yeah, I know, but I would sell it and I would say up front, looks like the back cover was married or the back cover was married and maybe CGC missed it or whatever. I mean, you can be honest about it. Because the person that's looking for a 1.0 Daredevil, I mean, they're not, I don't think it's about price, what they can afford, and they're going to really opt for a better looking complete book, even if the back cover's married, over a, you know, not all grades are created the same. There's a lot of, that's a better looking 1.0 than this person will find. And if that's in their budget, you know, that's what they're looking for. You know, they're not like some high grade snob where they get a 9.0 and it's got a married back cover and they send it back. The person in the market for that book, that's probably going to be an acceptable defect because of how good the book looks. You know what I mean? If it's between the not married with a ratty cover or the married back cover with the front cover that looks like that, I would go with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be the thing to do. But even if I listed it, even if I put in the listing that that the back cover is married. I still think that if someone got it and they weren't reading the listing carefully and they just saw the blue label and it was an impulse buy, I think I would still allow them to return it. That's all. You know, I think I would let them send it back, because that blue label, sometimes that's all people see. You know, we talked earlier today about how whenever I see it, whenever I get a book or before I buy a book, unless it's a buy it now and I'm in a super hurry, I usually check the verification. I verify the cert number with CGC, especially in person, because like, I don't knock any of my LCSs, but I had one LCS who was pushing a lot of the old CGC cases. And when you hold up one of these next to an old one, the old ones look so devoid of security, and they look, you know, the numbers all faded, and it looks like it could be easily reproduced. So, you know, whenever I used to see that, I got in the habit of checking cert numbers to make sure that it was a legit book, or at least the best I could. So, yeah. So there you go. So Daredevil #1, blue label, and we've got our Hulk 181, green label 5.5. So there's the beauties right there. I want to thank DS Comics, my mule, for sending this. I didn't know if he wanted to be known as the mule or not, because I'm sure, you know, in fact, before he went, he was like, yeah, I got room for like 5 books. And then by the time I was like, oh, I'm just sending 2, because you never know what you're going to pick up. Maybe first thing Friday even, and try and run it through on site. So,
yeah, that's true. I mean, they have a 25 book. They told me they have a 25 book maximum for on-site per person. And I ended up with a total of 19. There were some I pulled because the on-site fees were too high. I decided I didn't want to pay that much to have certain books graded, so I actually pulled a few. And so I ended up with 19 total, including yours and, you know, a couple for somebody else. But yeah, and then when I got them back, they just handed me the whole box. I didn't bring a book bag or any way to carry it or any type of anything.
yeah.
I'm just walking out, and then it's pouring rain when I left the con on Sunday. So I've got this box, which I'm holding sort of sideways as I walk across the parking lot, because I don't want the water to get in the top of the box. And I'm going quick. And yeah, my arms were dying by it, because I went out the wrong side, and it's not easy to find where I was parked. And then I had to go in the parking lot. It was quite a production, but I finally got them in the car and put the seatbelt on them.
Yeah, I do that too.
Yeah.
Everybody teases me, my family, when they see me strap in comics, but I do. I put them in the I put them in the seat and I buckle them in, yeah. Just in case. You never know, some yahoo across the street or a squirrel or something, and I make a quick decision. I don't want to have to think about my slabs flying around the car. So, and thank you for lugging. You know, that's a lot of slabs to carry once bulky. So, thanks again. Thanks to everyone in the chat who joined me on this. Thank you to everyone who watched the other 2 videos. I really do recommend them if you have a chance, if you have time, go back, check those out, and see the process that landed into these 2 grades. So it's interesting, if nothing else. And if you're someone who already does this, and you press and you clean and you conserve all the time, then I'd love to hear your comments on my process, and see anytime you're doing something, there's always a chance you could be doing it better. And anyone who has more experience than me has a lot to offer. So thank you. Thanks to everyone in the chat. We got Comic Crypto Stock. We got Pope Cerebus, JP, Metarog still in the house. Alex, thanks again. We got Justice for Comics. Gray Man's in the house. Just stacked up. I think we had the boy who had 7 in here. Bear Island. So thank you guys for all being in here, and for joining us. Try and keep DS awake.
Hey, so you're doing tomorrow night, right?
Yes. Tomorrow night we'll be doing a auction on DS Comics channel. I won't be doing any. I'm not selling any books. I'll just be the goon. You know, I'll be maybe if he wants me to hold up the counter and help him tabulate bids and let him know who's in the lead and at what price. And when it's time to move a book along because nobody has the money for it, I'll help you with that. But that's about it.
You're going to be there for moving me along if I get stuck in a loop or something, to push me, move it along if you feel like whatever. And other than that, just to hang out with me. Nobody wants to just listen to me talk. for an hour or two, whatever. So it's always more fun if you're there, just like the color commentator sort of.
All right, well, you
I
got
don't
it.
do the timer. I'm pretty informal, no timers or anything like that. You can tell when it starts to fizzle out and people are done.
Yeah, that's true.
And then I just
that sounds like fun. So check that out. 8 o'clock Eastern, is that right, DS?
8 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night.
8 o'clock Eastern on DS Comics channel. I'll run through the books one more time. Here's Planet Comics number 22, last rivet cover in the series at a 1.5. I bought this already slabbed. And then we have Hulk 181, green label 5.5, upgraded after I cleaned it and pressed it from a 2.5 CBCS label. And Daredevil number 1 at a 1.0. I don't know what it was before. It was probably an incomplete 0.5 when I got it. Would you say that's probably about right?
Yeah, it was a 0.5 incomplete.
Yeah. So managed to bring it up to a 1.0 blue label. Happy about that. And a pretty book for my PC. So that's it. If anybody needs anything, we're here. We're not here. We're leaving. But hit us up on Instagram or in the comments below. And we appreciate you coming out and watching this unboxing again. DS, thank you for all your help and for making this happen. And thank you all for watching. And watch those other videos. And we'll see you tomorrow night at the auction on DS Comics channel. All right, this is Bubs Comics signing off, saying thank you all for watching. And may all your grades come back better than you thought they were. All right, read a comic. And remember, don't apologize for the glare. All right, that's it, guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.